The explosion shook Threshold Station so hard that Commander Jisoo Park grabbed her console to stay on her feet. Red lights flashed across every screen in the command center. Outside the thick windows, ships burned in the darkness of space. Coalition vessels twisted and broke apart like toys in the hands of an angry child. "Another cruiser down," someone shouted. "The Vryn are pushing through Sector 7. Jisoo watched the battle display with a sinking feeling in her chest. 3 years. They had been fighting the Vryn Dominion for 3 years, and they were losing. Badly. The alien force had more ships, better shields, and armor that healed itself. Every battle ended the same way. The Coalition retreated and the Vryn took another system. Admiral Thero stood at the center of the command deck. He was tall, with 4 arms and a hard shell that covered most of his body. His species had fought wars for centuries. He was supposed to be one of the best military minds in the galaxy. Right now he looked like everyone else. Scared. "Pull back the remaining fighters," Theros ordered. His translator made his clicking speech sound flat and tired. "Focus all defensive fire on protecting the evacuation ships." Jisoo stepped forward. "Admiral, I have General Choi on the secure line again. He says Earth forces are ready to deploy." Theros made a sound like grinding metal. It was how his species showed annoyance. "Tell the General we appreciate the offer, but we need real military assets, not support troops." "Sir, he says these aren't support troops. He's talking about specialized combat units." "Commander Park, I have seen the human military reports. Your people are adequate soldiers, good at logistics, decent at basic combat. But this situation requires elite forces. The Vryn are killing our best warriors. I will not send your people to die for nothing." Jisoo felt her jaw tighten, but she kept her voice calm. "General Choi seems to think his soldiers can make a difference." "Then the general is delusional." Theros turned back to the battle display. "Focus on evacuation. We have maybe 6 hours before this station falls." Jisoo moved back to her station and opened the channel to Earth. General Minho Choi's face appeared on her screen. He was in his 60s with gray hair and a scar across his left cheek. He looked tired but not defeated. "Let me guess," Choi said. He said no. "He doesn't think we can help." Choi nodded slowly. "They never do. Not until it's too late." He looked at something off screen. "How bad is it up there?" "Bad. We've lost 40% of the fleet. The Vryn are hitting us from 3 directions. If we lose the station, they'll have a clear path to Earth and a dozen other worlds. Then it's time." Choi leaned forward. "Jisoo, I need you to listen carefully. In about 2 hours, Theros is going to have no choice. When he finally asks for our help, tell him we'll need complete operational freedom. No oversight, no questions about our methods. Can you do that?" "General, what exactly are you planning to send?" Choi smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "Something the galaxy hasn't seen before. Something they're not ready for." The channel closed. Jisoo stared at the blank screen, wondering what the old general meant. She had grown up on Earth, joined the Coalition military at 20, and spent 15 years working her way up through the ranks. She knew Earth's military was good. They trained hard, followed orders, and got the job done. But the galaxy had species that were stronger, faster, and had been fighting wars since before humans left their home planet. What could Earth possibly have that would change this battle? Another explosion rattled the station. The lights flickered. "Shields at 30%, a technician called out. "We can't take many more hits like that." Theros watched his fleet die on the screens. Jisoo could see the calculation in his eyes. He was counting ships, measuring time, calculating odds. She had seen that look before. It was the look of a commander realizing he was out of options. "How many evacuation ships do we have ready?" Theros asked. 12. "They can hold about 60,000 people. The station has a population of 200,000. Then we need to make choices." Theros's voice was heavy. "Priority to civilians and essential personnel. Military staff will hold the station as long as possible to buy time for the escape." It was a death sentence, and everyone in the room knew it. The military personnel would stay behind to fight a battle they couldn't win, just to give others a few more hours to run. "Sir," Jisoo said quietly, "please reconsider General Choi's offer. Commander, I respect your loyalty to your homeworld, but it's not about loyalty. It's about survival. You said it yourself. We're out of options. What do we have to lose by letting Earth try?" Theros was quiet for a long moment. Outside, another ship exploded. The Vryn fleet was getting closer. "Fine." The Admiral's shoulders slumped. "Contact your general. Tell him he has authorization to deploy whatever forces he wants. But make it clear that I expect them to follow Coalition protocols and chain of command. Jisoo opened the channel. Choi was waiting as if he knew the call was coming. We're approved for deployment, Jisoo said. The Admiral wants assurance that Earth forces will follow standard protocols. Choi shook his head. No protocols. No chain of command except our own. We do this our way or we don't do it at all. Jisoo looked at Theros. The Admiral's translator clicked and hissed. This is highly irregular. So is losing a major military station, Choi replied calmly. Admiral, you asked for help. I'm offering it, but my people fight the way we've trained to fight. Trust us or watch your station burn. Your choice. The command center was silent except for the distant sound of weapons fire and hull breaches. Theros looked at the battle display one more time. The red markers showing Vryn ships outnumbered the blue coalition markers by a huge margin. Do it, Theros said finally. But if this fails, the responsibility is yours, General. Understood. Choi's image shifted as he stood up from his chair. My forces will arrive in 90 minutes. Until then, I suggest you keep your people alive. Oh, and Admiral, you might want to pull your ships back a bit. Things are about to get messy. The channel closed before Theros could respond. What did he mean by messy? The Admiral asked Jisoo. She thought about the smile on General Choi's face. The confidence. The certainty, I don't know, sir, but I think we're about to find out. Somewhere on Earth, in facilities hidden from the public eye, soldiers were getting ready. They checked their weapons, reviewed their mission plans, and prepared to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. They were about to teach the Vryn Dominion why Earth's deadliest export wasn't technology or culture. It was warriors. The Vryn broke through the outer defense line exactly 83 minutes after General Choi's call. Their ships poured through the gap like insects swarming toward food. On Threshold Station, alarms screamed without stopping. People ran through the corridors, some carrying weapons, others carrying children. Commander Jisoo Park stood in the command center, her hands moving across her console as she tried to coordinate the chaos. Next to her, Admiral Theros issued orders in 3 languages at once, his forearms gesturing at different screens. All remaining fighters, form up at Rally Point Delta, Theros commanded. Cruiser groups concentrate fire on their lead ships. Make them pay for every meter they advance. It wouldn't be enough. Jisoo knew it. Theros knew it. Everyone in the room knew it. The only question was how long they could hold out before the station fell. Incoming vessels detected, a sensor officer called out. Vector 27 Mark 5. 10 contacts, moving fast. Vryn reinforcements? Theros asked. Negative, sir. Signature matches Earth military. They're broadcasting coalition identification codes. Jisoo felt her heart beat faster. That's General Choi's deployment. On the main screen, 10 small ships appeared. They didn't look like much. Each one was maybe 50 meters long, dark gray with sharp angles that made them look like knife blades cutting through space. Compared to the massive coalition warships and the organic-looking Vryn vessels, they seemed tiny. Insignificant. 10 ships? Theros' translator made his voice sound even more disbelieving than usual. The General sent 10 ships? Sir, I'm getting a communication from the lead vessel. It's Captain Hiram Kim, Earth Special Operations Command. I put her through. The screen split. On one side, the battle continued. On the other side, a woman appeared. She was young, maybe 30, with short black hair and dark eyes that seemed too calm for someone flying into a war zone. She wore black armor with minimal markings. Admiral Theros, this is Captain Kim. We're taking operational control of the engagement zone. Recommend you pull your ships back to a safe distance. Captain, I authorized a deployment, not a takeover. And 10 small ships will not change the outcome of this battle. Kim smiled. It wasn't a friendly expression. Admiral, you're fighting the Vryn the way they expect to be fought. Ship to ship, strength against strength. That's why you're losing. Then please enlighten us, Captain. What would you suggest? We don't fight fair. We fight to win. Kim looked at something off screen. My ships carry 200 soldiers. Marines, Special Forces, specialists. We've studied the Vryn for 3 years. We know how they think, how they fight, how their ships work. We know their weaknesses. 200 soldiers? Theros made that grinding sound again. I have lost thousands today. What can 200 do? Watch and learn, Admiral. The Earth ships suddenly disappeared from every sensor screen in the command center. Where did they go? Someone shouted. I don't know, the sensor officer replied, checking her instruments frantically. They just vanished. Not destroyed, just gone. Jisoo pulled up the last known positions of the Earth vessels. They had been heading straight toward the Vryn fleet, seemingly on a suicide run. Now they were invisible. Stealth technology, she said quietly. They're still there. We just can't see them. Theros turned to stare at her. The Coalition has been trying to develop reliable stealth systems for decades. You're saying Earth has working technology? Apparently. On the battle display, the Vryn fleet continued its advance toward the station. Their ships moved in tight formation, shields overlapping, weapons firing constantly at the defending Coalition forces. They had no idea what was coming. Minutes passed. The Vryn got closer. Theros paced back and forth. His forearms crossed in what Jisoo had learned was a sign of extreme stress in his species. This is madness, the Admiral muttered. I let desperation cloud my judgment. 200 soldiers cannot. A Vryn capital ship exploded, not damaged. Not disabled, exploded. The massive vessel, over a kilometer long, simply came apart from the inside. Pieces of hull and streams of atmosphere shot out in all directions. What happened? Theros demanded. I don't know, sir. There was no weapons fire detected, no missile strikes. It just blew up. 5 seconds later, another capital ship exploded. Then another. The Vryn fleet stopped advancing. Their ships broke formation, turning in different directions as if trying to find an invisible enemy. Jisoo's console lit up with incoming data. Sir, I'm receiving sensor logs from our ships near the Vryn fleet. They're picking up brief energy signatures, something small, maybe the size of a person moving between the Vryn ships. Boarding parties, Admiral Theros said slowly. They're boarding the Vryn ships. Why, that's impossible. Vryn hulls are too thick. Their internal security is... Another explosion cut off the sensor officer's words. A fourth capital ship died. Captain Kim's voice came through the speakers. Admiral, we've breached 6 Vryn command ships. My teams are currently disabling their power cores, command systems, and weapons arrays. The Vryn are very good at ship-to-ship combat. They're less prepared for enemies inside their own vessels. How are you getting through their hulls? Jisoo asked. Shape charges, hull-cutting lasers, and 3 years of studying their ship designs. We know where the weak points are. We know where their command centers are located, where they store ammunition, how their power distribution works. When you study an enemy long enough, they stop having secrets. On the screen, the Vryn fleet was in chaos. Ships fired in random directions, trying to hit targets they couldn't see. Some fired at each other by accident. Their neat formation had collapsed into disorder. This is Lieutenant Doyen Lee to all Earth units. A male voice came through on the military channel. Teams 3 and 4 hit the cruisers on the left flank. Teams 5 and 6 go for the carrier group. Remember, we're not here to fight their whole crew. Find the command staff, neutralize them, and move to the next target. Jisoo pulled up a tactical feed from one of the Coalition ships. Through their sensors, she could see brief flashes of movement on Vryn hulls, small figures in dark armor moving with incredible speed and precision. They cut through metal like it was paper, disappeared into the holes they made, and seconds later, the ships began dying from within. A new voice came through, female and calm despite what must be happening around her. Sergeant Yoonji Kang to command. I have visual on Vryn reinforcement group, requesting permission to engage. Granted, Captain Kim replied. Make it count. Always do. The battle display showed 3 Vryn destroyers approaching from the far side of the engagement zone. They were moving to flank the Coalition ships, trying to surround them. Then the bridge window of the lead destroyer shattered. The ship veered off course, slamming into one of its companions. What was that? Theros asked. Jisoo checked the sensor data. Sir, that shot came from inside the debris field. Range approximately 43 kilometers. Whatever hit that ship came through reinforced combat glass. 43 kilometers? Theros' translator couldn't hide his shock. That's not possible. No handheld weapon has that range and accuracy. Tell that to Sergeant Kang, Jisoo replied. The second destroyer's bridge window exploded, then the third. She's picking off their command crews from 40 kilometers away, the sensor officer whispered. How is that even possible? Captain Kim spoke again. Admiral, we're uploading combat data to your command network. Study it if you want. We're about to get busy. The screen filled with information. Jisoo's eyes went wide as she read through it. Detailed maps of Vryn ship interiors, weak points in their armor, the command structure of their military, psychological profiles of their leaders, battle tactics broken down into predictable patterns. They've been preparing for this, she said. Not just studying the Vryn, preparing to fight them this specific way. Admiral Theros read the data in silence. His forearms slowly uncrossed. "This is a different kind of warfare," he said quietly. "They're not fighting an army. They're hunting." Another Vryn ship went dark, its power core disabled. Then another. The Earth soldiers moved through the Vryn fleet like shadows, striking from unexpected angles, disappearing before the enemy could respond, appearing somewhere else to strike again. Jisoo watched the battle display as red markers began changing to gray, showing disabled or destroyed Vryn vessels. In 30 minutes, Earth's forces had achieved what the entire coalition fleet couldn't do in 3 hours. "Captain Kim," Admiral Theros said, "I owe you an apology. Save it for after we win, Admiral. We're not done yet. The Vryn warlord is here, commanding from his personal dreadnought. Until we deal with him, this battle isn't over." The display showed a massive ship at the center of the Vryn fleet. It was twice the size of any other vessel, covered in weapons and heavy armor. "How do you plan to board that?" Theros asked. "It will be heavily defended." Captain Kim's smile returned. "We're not just boarding it, Admiral. We're going to take it, and we're going to make sure every Vryn in this fleet watches what happens when you attack Earth's people." Jisoo felt a chill run down her spine. She finally understood what General Choi meant when he said things would get messy. Earth hadn't sent soldiers to defend the station. They had sent hunters to send a message. Lieutenant Doyen Lee moved through the Vryn cruiser like a ghost. His boots made no sound on the metal deck. His breathing was controlled, calm, despite the fact that he was inside an enemy warship surrounded by hundreds of aliens who wanted to kill him. Behind him, his team of 8 soldiers moved in perfect sync. They had trained together for years. Each person knew exactly where the others would be, what they would do before anyone spoke a word. "Next junction in 10 meters, whispered Private Insu Bay through the team channel. He was their scout, always 3 steps ahead, checking corners and scanning for threats. "Copy," Doyen replied. "Wonho, prep charges for the power conduit. We're going dark in 2 minutes." Corporal Wonho Nam already had the explosives ready. He was good at his job. The best demolitions expert Doyen had ever worked with. The kind of person who could blow up exactly what needed to be destroyed, leaving everything else untouched. The corridor ahead split into 3 directions. The team stopped at the junction, weapons ready, covering all angles. "Contact," Insu said quietly. 4 Vryn, heavily armed, coming from the right passage. 20 seconds, Doyen made a hand signal. The team melted into the shadows along the walls. When the Vryn soldiers came around the corner, they found an empty hallway. They looked confused, talking to each other in their clicking language. The Earth soldiers dropped from the ceiling behind them. It was over in seconds. Quick, precise, professional, the Vryn never had time to raise their weapons. Doyen's team dragged the bodies into a side room and kept moving. "Command center is 2 decks up," Doyen said. "Wonho, blow the conduit now. Let's make some chaos." The explosion was small but perfectly placed. The lights in the corridor went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Alarms started wailing throughout the ship. In the sudden darkness and confusion, Doyen's team moved faster. They knew this ship's layout better than the Vryn did. They had studied the plans, memorized every corridor, every access point, every weakness. When you spent 3 years learning about an enemy, you learned how to hurt them. On another Vryn ship, Sergeant Yoonji Kang lay perfectly still in the debris field between 2 destroyed coalition vessels. Her position gave her a clear view of 3 Vryn capital ships. Around her, twisted metal and frozen bodies drifted in the vacuum. She was just another piece of wreckage, invisible, patient. Through her rifle scope, she watched the bridge of the nearest capital ship. The Vryn inside were trying to coordinate their defense, but Earth's boarding parties had their fleet in chaos. Officers shouted orders at screens. Junior crew members ran back and forth. Yoonji centered her crosshairs on the Vryn commander. He was taller than the others, with darker shell colors that marked him as high rank. He was pointing at a tactical display, probably trying to figure out where the Earth soldiers would strike next. He would never get the chance to find out. Yoonji squeezed the trigger. The rifle was designed for space combat. No sound, minimal recoil, but the round it fired could punch through reinforced combat glass and keep going. At 43 kilometers, the shot took 2 full seconds to reach its target. The Vryn commander's head snapped back. His body fell. Through her scope, Yoonji could see the other bridge officers staring in shock at where their leader had been standing. She was already lining up her next shot. Bridge officers eliminated on target 3, she reported calmly. Moving to target 4. Corporal Junho Han loved his job. Some people might think he was crazy for that, but he didn't care. There was something beautiful about explosions. The way they solved problems. The way they changed a situation completely. He was currently inside the ammunition storage bay of a Vrin cruiser, surrounded by enough explosive material to destroy a small moon. Most people would be terrified. Junho was calculating. "How much time do we have?" asked one of his team members. 5 minutes before their security teams get through that door, Junho replied. He was moving between the ammunition containers, placing small charges in specific locations. "But we'll be done in 3. And you're sure this will work?" Junho grinned inside his helmet. "Chemistry doesn't lie. These charges will start a reaction. The Vrin ammunition will do the rest. We're just lighting the fuse." He placed the last charge and activated the timer. "Okay, everyone out. Move, move, move." The team ran for the exit tunnel they had cut when they entered. Behind them, timers counted down. Junho was always the last one out. He liked to watch his work. The charges detonated exactly on time. The Vrin ammunition didn't just explode. It created a chain reaction that tore through 3 decks of the ship. Secondary explosions followed. The cruiser broke in half and both halves began drifting apart. "That's 17 ships disabled or destroyed," Junho reported. "Anybody else want to see some fireworks?" On Threshold Station, Admiral Theros watched the battle display with an expression that his translator couldn't quite capture. Shock mixed with awe, maybe, or fear. Jisoo wasn't sure. The Vrin fleet was falling apart. Not from superior firepower, not from better ships. From 200 human soldiers who had turned this battle into a nightmare for the enemy. "Sir, we're receiving new data from Captain Kim," a technician said. "She's uploading it to the main screen." The display changed. Now it showed the interior of a Vrin ship. The feed was coming from a camera mounted on a soldier's helmet. Jisoo watched as the Earth forces moved through corridors, working together with a precision that seemed almost telepathic, but it was the way they fought that made Jisoo's blood run cold. The Vrin were bigger than humans, stronger. Their natural armor could stop most conventional weapons. They had sharp claws and powerful jaws. In close combat, they should have been unstoppable. The Earth soldiers fought them anyway. Jisoo watched a human soldier face off against 3 Vrin warriors. The aliens rushed him, confident in their size and strength. The soldier didn't try to match their power. Instead, he moved between them, used their size against them, turned their own momentum into weapons. In 10 seconds, all 3 Vrin were on the ground. "They're not just fighting," Admiral Theros said quietly. "They're predicting every move, like they've fought Vrin thousands of times before." "Simulation training," Jisoo replied. She was reading the data files Earth had shared. They've run millions of combat scenarios. Every possible way a fight with Vrin could go. Their soldiers know how Vrin move, how they react, what they'll do before they do it. Another feed showed a different approach. A team had cornered a group of Vrin in a cargo bay. Instead of attacking directly, they sealed the exits and started playing sounds through the ship's speakers. Vrin communication sounds, but wrong somehow, distorted. The aliens became agitated, confused. When they finally tried to break out, they were disorganized and easy to take down. "Psychological warfare," the Admiral said. "They're using the Vrin's own biology against them." The battle feeds kept coming. Earth soldiers fighting in zero gravity like they were born in space. Teams coordinating attacks across multiple ships simultaneously. Specialists disabling Vrin technology with tools that seemed designed specifically for that purpose. It was like watching a documentary about predators hunting prey. "Captain Kim," Theros said, "your soldiers are extraordinarily effective. But I must ask, how did Earth develop such specific anti-Vrin capabilities? The Coalition has been fighting them for 3 years. Kim's voice came back immediately. "Admiral, Earth has been fighting itself for 10,000 years. Every kind of warfare you can imagine. Every environment. Every situation. We've studied war the way other species study art or science. When the Vrin appeared, we just added them to our list of things we know how to fight. But the precision, the knowledge of their biology, their ships. We're very good at learning, Admiral, and we're even better at killing things that threaten us." Another Vrin ship went dark on the display. Then another. The enemy fleet was down to less than half strength. Ships that weren't destroyed were trying to retreat, but Earth's forces were faster. They jumped from ship to ship, spreading through the Vryn fleet like a plague. Doyen's team reached the command center of their target ship. He placed charges on the door and blew it open. His team rushed in, weapons ready. The Vryn inside tried to fight back. They never had a chance. In 30 seconds, the command center was secured. Wanho began uploading a virus into the ship's computer systems while the rest of the team set up defensive positions. Ship secure, Doyen reported. That's number 12. Moving to next target in 5 minutes. All across the Vryn fleet, similar reports came in. Earth's forces were systematically taking apart an enemy that outnumbered them by thousands to one. Jisoo realized she was watching history being made. The galaxy had never seen humans fight like this. Most species thought of Earth's people as average soldiers, support troops. Nothing special. They had been very, very wrong, Admiral, Captain Kim said. We've cleared a path to the Warlord's dreadnought. Requesting permission to proceed with final phase. Theros looked at Jisoo. She could see the question in his expression. How far would the humans go? Permission granted, the Admiral said. But Captain, that ship is heavily defended. Even your forces will take casualties. We're aware of the risks, Kim replied. Her voice was still calm, cold even. But the Warlord needs to learn something important. Warlord Krex watched his fleet die on the screens around him. Each time a ship went dark, each time he lost contact with a vessel, he felt something he had never experienced before in 300 years of warfare. Fear. How many ships have we lost? He demanded. His second-in-command hesitated. That alone told Krex the news was bad. 37 destroyed or disabled, Warlord. Another 15 have lost all communication. We must assume they've been captured. By 200 soldiers. Krex's claws scraped against his command throne. 200. We outnumbered them 5,000 to 1. The humans fight differently than any enemy we've faced. They don't try to overpower us. They attack our weaknesses. They turn our own ships into traps. An alarm cut off the officer's words. Red lights flashed across the bridge. Hull breach detected, someone shouted. Multiple breaches, decks 7, 12, and 18. They're coming from different directions. Krex stood from his throne. He was massive even by Vryn standards. Over 3 meters tall with battle scars covering his dark shell. He had fought in 100 wars. He had never retreated from an enemy. Seal all access to the bridge. Deploy all security teams. If they want to reach me, they'll have to climb over a mountain of their own dead. Throughout the dreadnought, Vryn warriors rushed to defensive positions. They carried heavy weapons, wore thick armor, and had every advantage in a fight. The ship was designed as a fortress. Taking it from within should have been impossible. The Earth soldiers came anyway. Major Yuna Shin moved through the dreadnought's corridors with 5 soldiers behind her. They wore armor that looked different from the standard Earth military gear. Sleeker, darker. The helmets had no visible sensors, but somehow the team moved like they could see in every direction at once. Reaper Team Alpha to command, Yuna said quietly. We're inside the target, beginning hunt protocol. Captain Kim's voice came back. Confirmed, Major, all other teams are in position. The galaxy is watching. Make it memorable. Always do. Yuna's team was special even among Earth's special forces. They were enhanced. Genetic modifications, cybernetic upgrades, experimental biotechnology that pushed human capabilities beyond natural limits. The military called them Reapers. Everyone else called them Ghosts. They moved faster than normal humans. Their reflexes were sharper, their senses more acute. But what made them truly dangerous was their training. Every Reaper had spent 5 years learning how to kill efficiently, how to fight anything, anywhere, under any conditions. The first Vryn security team never saw them coming. Yuna's squad appeared from a ventilation shaft above them, dropped down and eliminated the entire group before they could raise their weapons. The Reapers moved on without slowing down. Contact ahead, said Specialist Taijin O. He was their technical expert, able to interface directly with computer systems through neural implants. 20 Vryn, heavily armed, blocking the corridor to the command section. Can you bypass them? Yuna asked. I can do better than that. Taijin placed his hand on an access panel. His eyes went unfocused as his mind connected with the ship's systems. I'm taking control of their environmental systems. Give me 30 seconds. The Vryn soldiers waited in the corridor, weapons ready, expecting a frontal assault. Instead, the air vents above them opened and sleep gas flooded the hallway. They tried to seal their suits, tried to retreat, but the gas was too fast. In seconds, all 20 warriors were unconscious on the deck. Yuna's team stepped over the sleeping bodies and kept moving. All security systems in this section are now under our control, Tajan reported. I'm also accessing their communication network. Warlord Krex is on the command bridge. Heavy security, reinforced doors, multiple defensive positions. Can you broadcast from the bridge cameras? Already working on it. Tajan smiled inside his helmet. Every Vryn ship in this fleet is about to get a live show. On Threshold Station, Commander Jisoo Park watched as new feeds appeared on the command center screens. Not camera footage from Earth soldiers. This was coming from inside the Vryn dreadnought itself, from the ship's own security system. What are we seeing? Admiral Theros asked. I think, Jisoo said slowly, the humans want everyone to watch what happens next. The feed showed the dreadnought's command bridge. Warlord Krex stood at the center, surrounded by elite guards. The doors were sealed. Defensive barriers had been raised. It looked impenetrable. Then the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim and red. On the screen, Jisoo could see the Vryn warriors looking around nervously. They had heard what happened to their fleet. They knew Earth soldiers were somewhere in the ship. Warlord Krex, a female voice said through the bridge speakers. It was calm, almost friendly. This is Major Yuna Shin of Earth's Special Operations Command. We're coming for you. You're welcome to try, human, Krex replied. His translator made his voice sound confident, but Jisoo could hear the edge of fear underneath. I have 300 guards between you and this bridge. Had 300 guards, most are unconscious, some are dead. The rest are locked in compartments that they can't open from inside. Yuna's voice echoed through the bridge. You're alone, Warlord. Just you and your bridge crew, and we're right outside. The doors are sealed with emergency locks. Reinforced durasteel. You don't have the tools to breach them. Actually, we do. The bridge door exploded inward. Not from charges or cutting tools. It was kicked open. A human figure stood in the smoking doorway, backlit by the fires in the corridor behind her. Major Yuna Shin stepped onto the bridge. She moved with a speed that seemed impossible. The first Vryn guard tried to shoot her. She was already past him, her blade cutting through his weapon and armor in one motion. The second guard lunged at her with his claws. She ducked under his strike, drove her fist into his chest, and he flew backward into a console. Behind her, the rest of Reaper Team Alpha poured through the door. They moved like a coordinated machine, each member covering the others, every motion precise and lethal. Warlord Krex watched his elite guards fall in seconds. These weren't normal humans. They were faster, stronger, more dangerous than anything he had faced before. Only 3 guards remained standing, and they had positioned themselves between Krex and the Earth soldiers. Yuna gestured, and her team stopped advancing. Clear the bridge, she ordered her soldiers. Leave the Warlord to me. Major, are you sure? Tajan asked. I'm sure. Get everyone else out. This is between him and me. The Reaper team moved through the bridge, efficiently subduing the remaining Vryn crew members. Within 2 minutes, the bridge was empty except for Yuna and Krex. The Warlord stared at her. She was so small compared to him. He had 3 times her mass, natural weapons, armor that had stopped bullets and blades in 100 battles. His species had dominated warfare in this sector for generations, and yet he was afraid. You want to fight me yourself? Krex asked. One-on-one? That's the idea. Why? Yuna pulled off her helmet. She was young, maybe 30, with a scar running across her left cheek. Her eyes were dark and completely calm. Because you need to understand something, Warlord. You attacked a coalition station. You killed thousands of people. Some of them were my friends, and I want you to know personally what happens when you make Earth angry. Krex charged. He was fast for his size, claws extended, jaws open. He could tear a normal human apart with one strike. Yuna didn't move like a normal human. She sidestepped his charge, drove her elbow into his side, and used his own momentum to send him stumbling. Before he could recover, she was behind him, her blade against his neck. "Too slow," she said. Krex spun, trying to catch her with his claws. She was already gone, rolling under his strike, coming up with her blade slashing across his legs. The armor there was weaker. Blood began to flow. They fought across the bridge. Krex using his size and strength, Yuna using speed and precision. Every time he tried to hit her, she was somewhere else. Every time he thought he had her cornered, she found a way through. Throughout the Vryn fleet, on every ship still functioning, the crew watched their warlord fight. They saw him struggle. They saw him bleed. They saw him for the first time in their memory losing. Krex was breathing hard now. His armor was cracked in a dozen places. Blood ran from multiple wounds. Across from him, Yuna looked barely winded. "You can't win," Krex said. "Even if you kill me, the Dominion will send another fleet. And another. We will not stop. Then we'll keep teaching you the same lesson until you learn." Yuna circled him slowly. "You're not invincible. Your ships aren't unstoppable. And when you threaten Earth, we don't negotiate. We don't retreat. We hunt you down and we end you." Krex made one final desperate lunge. Yuna caught his arm, twisted it, and drove him to the ground. Her blade was at his throat before he could move. "The battle is over," she said. "Order your fleet to stand down." For a long moment, Krex didn't move. Then slowly he activated his communication device. "All Vryn forces," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. "Ceasefire, stand down. The battle is lost." All across the engagement zone, Vryn ships stopped fighting. Some began retreating immediately. Others waited, uncertain. A few tried to continue attacking, but without coordination, they were quickly disabled by coalition forces or Earth's boarding parties. The war was over in 6 hours. It took 3 years for the Vryn Dominion to push the coalition to the edge of defeat. It took Earth's forces less than a day to turn the tide completely. Commander Jisoo Park stood in the observation deck of Threshold Station, looking out at the captured Vryn fleet. Dozens of ships floated in space, disabled but intact. Earth soldiers and coalition personnel moved between them, securing systems and processing prisoners. It didn't look like a battlefield anymore. It looked like a salvage operation. Behind her, the door opened. Admiral Theros entered, moving slowly. He looked tired. He was tired. They all were. "The Council wants a full report," Theros said quietly. "They're demanding to know how Earth accomplished what the entire coalition military could not." Jisoo turned to face him. "What will you tell them?" "The truth. That we underestimated humanity. That we treated Earth as a junior member of the coalition because your people were new to space. That we forgot to ask why a species would develop such advanced warfare capabilities on a single planet. And what answer did you find?" Theros was silent for a moment. "Your world is harsh. Gravity higher than most inhabited planets. Weather that ranges from deadly heat to deadly cold. Predators evolved to hunt your ancestors. And worse than all of that, you fought each other for thousands of years. Every nation, every tribe, every group learning how to destroy the others. You didn't just survive that. You mastered it. War isn't something we're proud of, Admiral, but it's something you're exceptional at." Theros moved to stand beside her at the window. "The Council is afraid, Commander. They saw what your soldiers did. The precision, the ruthlessness, the complete lack of hesitation when killing was necessary. They're wondering if they made a mistake inviting Earth into the coalition." Jisoo felt a flash of anger but kept her voice calm. "We saved your station. We stopped the Vryn, and now you're afraid of us?" Fear and respect often look the same from the outside. Theros pointed at the disabled Vryn ships. "But the Council isn't the only one watching. Every government in known space has seen the battle recordings. Earth's reputation just changed forever. You're no longer the new species trying to prove yourselves. You're the species that everyone else needs to be careful around." In a conference room on Earth, General Minho Choi sat across from a dozen politicians and military leaders. They were all talking at once, asking questions, making demands. Choi waited patiently for them to quiet down. "General," one politician said, "the galactic news networks are calling us Deathworlders. They're saying Earth is the most dangerous military power in the coalition. Some are demanding we be restricted from certain sectors. And others are asking us to send military advisors to train their forces, another added. We've received 17 requests in the last hour alone. Choi nodded. Both reactions were expected. The galaxy has two choices now. They can fear us or they can respect us. Ideally, they'll do both. This was your plan all along, wasn't it? Asked a woman from the diplomatic corps. You wanted to make a statement. I wanted to keep Threshold Station from falling, Choi replied calmly. But yes, I knew this battle would change how the galaxy sees us. For 3 years, we've been the junior partner. Support troops. Logistics personnel. Good enough to help, but not good enough to lead. That perception was getting humans killed. And now they know what we're capable of. They know that when humans fight, we fight to win. And they know that attacking Earth or our allies comes with a very high price. The room was quiet for a moment. What about the soldiers? Someone asked. The Reapers. How many people know about them? Everyone now, Choi said. That was part of the point. The galaxy needed to see that Earth doesn't just have good soldiers. We have soldiers that can match or exceed anything else out there. Major Shin's team showed them that. Captain Hiron Kim walked through the docking bay of Threshold Station. Her soldiers were loading equipment, preparing for the return trip to Earth. They moved efficiently, professionally. You wouldn't know by looking at them that they had just won an impossible battle. Lieutenant Doyen Lee approached her, saluting. Captain, all teams reporting in. 0 casualties, 17 minor injuries. All recovered equipment is secure. Good work, Lieutenant. How are the troops? Tired but satisfied. They know what they accomplished here. Doyen paused. The coalition soldiers keep staring at us. Some look grateful. Others look scared. They'll get used to it eventually. Hiron looked around the bay. Where's Sergeant Kang? Cleaning her rifle. As usual. Hiron found Eunji Kang sitting on a supply crate, carefully maintaining her weapon. The rifle was custom-made, designed specifically for long-range combat in space. In the right hands, it was one of the most dangerous weapons in existence. In Eunji's hands, it was legendary. Sergeant, how many confirmed kills did you get? Eunji didn't look up from her work. 73 bridge officers across 12 ships. Could have been more, but some ships surrendered before I could engage. You sound disappointed. I had 84 rounds loaded. I hate wasting ammunition. Eunji finally looked up, a slight smile on her face. But I suppose saving the station was worth it. Across the docking bay, Corporal Junho Han was demonstrating his detonation techniques to a group of coalition engineers. They watched in fascination as he explained how to turn enemy ammunition stores into chain reaction bombs. The key is understanding the materials you're working with, Junho explained. Every explosive has a trigger point. You just need to know what that point is and how to reach it with minimal equipment. One of the engineers, a reptilian species with scales that changed color based on emotion, asked a question. But how did you learn so much about Vrin ammunition? That information is classified even within the coalition military. Junho grinned. We asked. When you're serious about learning how to fight someone, you study everything about them. What they eat, how they think, what their technology does, what makes it explode. The coalition classified the information. Earth just decided classification was less important than winning. In the Vrin dreadnought, Major Yuna Shin stood in what used to be the Warlord's command center. It was now an Earth military operations post. Technicians were downloading data from the Vrin computers, learning everything they could about enemy tactics and technology. Specialist Taejin Oh worked at a central console, his neural interface allowing him to process information faster than any normal human could read it. Major, you need to see this, he said. I've been analyzing Vrin communication records. They were planning to attack 5 more coalition systems after Threshold, including Earth. Yuna felt cold. They were going to attack our homeworld? According to these records, they saw Earth as the weakest link in the coalition. Small population off-planet, limited fleet presence, soldiers they considered inferior. They thought we'd surrender immediately. They thought wrong. Very wrong. Taejin pulled up more data. But Major, there's something else. The Vrin aren't the only hostile force in this sector. There are 3 other expansionist empires watching the coalition, waiting to see if we're weak enough to attack. When they hear about what happened here, they'll think twice before starting anything, or they'll see us as the primary threat and come at us first. Yuna was quiet for a moment, thinking. That's a problem for later. Right now, let's make sure everyone in this sector knows exactly what happened here. I want every government, every military, every warlord and emperor to see what happens when you attack Earth. Already working on it. The battle recordings are being broadcast on every major network. By this time tomorrow, the entire galaxy will know our names. 2 days later, the Vryn Dominion sent an official communication to the Coalition Council. They were requesting a peace treaty. The message was simple and direct. The Dominion acknowledged its defeat and agreed to cease all hostile actions against Coalition territory. At the bottom of the message was a personal note from the surviving Vryn leadership to Earth's military command. It said simply, "We underestimated you. We will not make that mistake again." Commander Jisoo Park was promoted to Coalition Strategic Command. Her first assignment was to establish a joint Earth Coalition military training program. Species from across known space were sending officers to learn from human tactics and strategies. Lieutenant Doyen Lee and his team were offered positions as instructors at the Coalition Military Academy. They accepted. Within a year, their combat techniques would be taught to soldiers across dozens of worlds. Sergeant Yoonji Kang's rifle was studied by weapons designers from 7 different species. None of them could figure out how she made shots that should have been impossible. When asked, she said it wasn't the weapon, it was practice. 10,000 hours of practice. Corporal Junho Han became an advisor to Coalition Engineering Corps. His demolitions technique saved lives by teaching soldiers how to disable enemy assets without excessive force. He still loved explosions, but now he was helping others learn to use them wisely. Major Yuna Shin and Reaper Team Alpha returned to Earth. Their existence was no longer secret, but their operations remained classified. The galaxy knew Earth had enhanced soldiers. What they didn't know was how many, how powerful, or where they were deployed. That uncertainty kept potential enemies cautious.